In a strange sort of way, we don't know a great deal about Daniel Williams. We believe he was born in Wrexham in about 1643, and then was brought up and in 1664 went to Ireland, eventually ending up in Dublin, where he was minister for nearly 20 years. He returns to England in about 1687 at a really crucial period in our history, the point at which James II is apparently going to introduce Catholicism and the fear that this brings, and of course leading to the Glorious Revolution. He then becomes really the leading minister, non-conformist minister in London, and it is astonishing how he achieved this, because he's really an unknown minister. He spent most of his career in Ireland, marries well twice, and becomes really quite a major political figure, interceding between the dissenters and the Church of England and the government. In 1711 he makes his will, and that's the thing that we remember him for, not his leadership of dissent at the crucial period, or the part that he played in shaping modern dissent. And in his will he sets up really a number of benefactions, important benefactions, for the future education of ministry within England. A great fear, of course, at the height of Queen Anne's reign, that dissenters might not be able to educate their children, might not be able to educate their ministers. The minor part of his will is what he does with his 7,000 books. And he really doesn't make very adequate provision for them. So it's Edmund Calamy, who, with his other trustees, who actually raises the money amongst the London merchant dissenters to pay for a building in Red Cross Street. And that's really where the library dates from, opened in 1729, and we claim it's the oldest library on its benefaction still open to the public.
It's 1731 when in the minutes a box of varied manuscripts is given by Mr. Sylvester. And turns out this is another Matthew Sylvester. And of course, Baxter's literary executor had died in 1708, this is 1731, but his son was also Matthew Sylvester. There's scattered manuscripts, so there's sermons, there's literary disquisitions, there's letters, there are tracts, there are drafts, there are orders for his arrest, and there are documents completely by other people, nothing, at least on first sight, to do with Baxter at all. Some of them relate to theological giants in France, in Germany, from Poland, clearly people he's in correspondence with, and people whose works he's read. It's really a massive, huge gift. There's 7 main volumes, but on top of that, there are another 14 minor, slighter volumes. As you probably know, the proto-autobiography, the Reliquiae, is a mess. Again, probably down to poor old Matthew Sylvester, who didn't know how to edit, really, and venerated Baxter to such a degree that he really couldn't rearrange it. So the haphazard order in which the Reliquiae we find is in fact reflected also in the haphazard order of material in the treatises. So my catalogue looked at this, and I decided that actually I had to examine the volumes of treatises in the form in which I found them, so to organise them in that order.
I couldn't take anything apart at all unless somebody looked at it very carefully and listed it first. Because if you looked at the catalogue that we have, it wasn't a very good catalogue. You couldn't follow through easily and understand the collection. So the only way we were actually going to be able to take it apart if somebody went through item by item, not only listed several numbers, because there's an original number, some by Baxter's written on the letters himself and the papers himself. There's a number of somebody who's trying to collate it and make sense of it. There's numbers that binders have put on as they've bound it, and they're all on one side of the paper. You think, which one am I going to follow? So I had to start off with several columns, trying to work out that obviously the pencil numbering is by the binder, the very dark ink at the top was Baxter, and there was another pencil mark down the side for somebody who's collated it. So we started with Alan trying to make sense of all the numbers and each item. And again, the only way you could do that, besides looking at the numbers, is put the first few lines of every item in. So there's no way you could divorce that from the numbers we then gave it and the folios we put in.
When we've got, say, 42-page manuscripts, I'm offering you a guide as to what's there, and if you want to consult it, you're going to have to work your way through the 42 pages. I'm afraid I'm not giving you a shortcut.